Welcome to RNDTI Insights, a podcast dedicated to bringing you news and information about the Research and Development Tax Incentive Program and what this means for Australian businesses. Brought to you by the Department of Industry, Science, Energy and Resources.
Hi, I'm Scott from the Department of Industry, Science, Energy and Resources, also known as DISA. I've been working the Research and Development Tax Incentive Program for a few years now, and I'm pleased to welcome you to the first episode of the Research and Development Tax Incentive podcast series called RNDTI Insights. Here we'll discuss the latest developments and opportunities for companies considering the R&D tax incentive. We wanted to bring you a podcast that will provide some great insights into the program and who should be registering. So if you own or work in a company that is investing in R&D, stay listening and you'll find out more about the R&D tax incentive program, its people and its participants. With me today is Trish, an assistant manager for Queensland, Western Australia, South Australia and the Northern Territory. Trish has worked with companies that use the R&D tax incentive for over 5 years now. She knows the ins and outs of the program and can give us great insight into what you need to know to get started. Thanks for joining me, Trish.
Thank you, Scott. Great to be here.
First up, can you tell me a little bit about what your job is and the main information that you wanted to share with us today?
Well, for this podcast, I want to provide a good overview of the program, who it's for, and how companies can benefit. It's also important that we talk about how DISA is supporting companies in this unusually challenging business environment. We know firsthand that Australian businesses and communities are facing extraordinary challenges: drought, extreme weather events, bushfires, and on top of that, the COVID-19 global pandemic. We also know that one of the keys to recovery will be adapting to a changing world, and that's why R&D is so important. It's a key factor in business growth and success and will help Australia rebuild its economy over the coming years. There's a lot of information that shows that companies who conduct R&D are often more successful and contribute to economic growth at a higher rate than those that don't. Planned R&D, which carries the risk of technical failure but if successful will lead to something new or improved, has benefits for the company and spillover benefits to the wider community and Australian economy. The R&D tax incentive, or RNDTI for short, was established specifically to encourage and support companies to take that extra risk and to compensate them for it with a tax offset.
Trish, could you give our listeners an overview of the RNDTI, what's on offer and who it's for?
Sure. As I touched on a moment ago, the RNDTI is a way for the Australian government to encourage and support companies to invest in generating new knowledge that will benefit them, their industry and the broader Australian economy. When we say new knowledge, we're talking about general new technical knowledge and or developing something new or improved. If your R&D activities meet the program criteria, you're eligible for a tax offset that covers some of the costs of your R&D. This may be a refundable or non-refundable offset depending on your company. Companies should take a closer look at the RNDTI, or any who are firstly incorporated under Australian or a foreign law. Secondly, conducting or plan to conduct R&D, which includes at least one activity that meets the program definition of a core R&D activity, and they have eligible R&D expenditure greater than $20,000. If they're using a research service provider to conduct their R&D or are contributing to a cooperative research centre, a CRC, then that minimum is waived. When it comes to claiming for investment in R&D under this program, understanding eligibility is really important. The types of eligible R&D activities are set out in the Income Tax Assessment Act 1997, the law that applies to the program. We've got a number of tools available on our website to help companies self-assess their eligibility.
So thanks for outlining that there, Trish. How can the RNDTI help businesses in these challenging times, which you touched on before? Are there any concessions for companies in light of the effects of the coronavirus restrictions?
The short answer is yes. DISA is watching trends closely. What I'm hearing on the ground is companies are looking to at least maintain their R&D investment or, which is really good news, use this time as an opportunity to increase their investment and stay ahead. Regarding DISA support, The date for annual applications to register eligible activities has been extended from 30th April to 30th September. Keep in mind, though, that eligibility according to the current legislation is still central to how the program works and how it's administered. Eligibility has not changed. DISA has continued to use the many tools available to stay connected with companies from a distance. We'll be extending how we do this by providing information via webinars and larger virtual group meetings. We remain committed to collaboration with business, so please reach out. For companies that want to be certain their R&D claim will be eligible, we have an advanced finding option. As the name suggests, we make a formal decision about whether the activities you intend to register for up to the next 3 years are eligible. Companies that took advantage of lodging a provisional application by the mandated 30th June deadline now have until 30th September to submit a full application. Beyond R&DTI, there are also a range of other forms of support for business, including a national network of expertise and advice. You can see the range of support available on our website. Just go to business.gov.au.
Thanks, Trish. Would you elaborate on some of the benefits?
Well, the main benefit is that the tax offset often means that companies can make investments in R&D that reap financial rewards without seeking other funding options. Let me share 4 comments from companies who've accessed the program. A tax break wasn't part of the strategy, but it bought us some time and meant we didn't have to rely on a grant or private investor. It gave us money in the bank to put into R&D, produce new technology and processes, not just for our company, but other similar companies out there. The R&DTI encourages business to pursue something they would not normally have the resources to do. And finally, the assistance allows us to take the research further without the need to find extra capital.
Trish, before you touched on the types of R&D that can be claimed under the program, would you be able to touch on that again and also give the listeners an example of that type of R&D that could be claimed?
Yeah. Look, to be eligible, the R&D must be conducted in a scientific way with the aim of generating new knowledge where the outcome of the activity can't be known or determined in advance. One great example of a company doing just this is Micro-X Limited. Under the R&DTI, Micro-X saw the opportunity to use carbon nanotube technology in mobile X-ray cards to improve the portability and use of these cards in the medical, security and defence markets. Initially, the business outsourced the engineering expertise, but now has over 20 employees from the team of 2 in September 2015. Micro-X's story is one of a range of examples which, as well as other great resources on the business.gov.au website, illustrate the many types of R&D that can be supported by this program.
It's great to hear, Trish. Could you also give us some insights into who has accessed the R&DTI? Like what size businesses and what industries does that represent?
Look, there's a great range of companies across many different industries that have benefited from the R&DTI. Again, I encourage people to look at the stories on the R&DTI webpage on business.gov.au. These really show the diversity of companies benefiting from the program and how companies are using it to develop their business in different ways.
Thanks, Trish. So, lastly, what's the focus of the R&DTI program in the coming months?
Well, we're very focused on engaging companies and business advisors through a range of webinars, information sessions and roundtables. We want to make sure that companies are well informed and know how to access the program.
Trish, thanks for sharing your views and expertise. It's been very informative and I hope it will dispel some of the myths and encourage businesses to consider the program in their decisions around R&D investment.
Thanks, Scott. It's been great speaking with you today.
In the meantime, if you'd like to know more about the R&DTI, please visit our website dedicated to supporting business at business.gov.au/RDTI. You'll be able to find a copy of this podcast and future episodes of the podcast at that website. Thank you for listening. We look forward to sharing lots of information with you in the future episodes. If you have any topics related to the R&DTI that you'd like to hear from us or discuss in future episodes, you can email questions or suggestions to rdti.engagement@industry.gov.au. Goodbye until next time.